Hi everybody, my name is Lindsay. I'm a registered nurse and welcome to my channel. So I am just going to start off by telling you a little bit about myself, and then this channel is going to be geared towards working with dementia patients, the geriatric population, tips and tricks, things that you can do with them. So let me start off by introducing myself. I am a registered nurse. I've been an RN for 9 years. So at the time of this recording, it's October 30th, 2020. I'm 32 years old, and I've been an RN since I was 23. Before I became an RN, I was a CNA. So I got my CNA in high school. I was about 17 at the time. When I turned 18, I started working my first actual nursing job, which was adult daycare. And I loved adult daycare. So if you don't know what adult daycare is and you need like services now, you can Google either your county health department or Department of Aging for your county, and they may have some type of adult daycare or respite services. So basically what that does is there's a whole thing that you have to go through depending on your insurance or your income. So basically adult daycare is kind of like a kid daycare, but for adults that have developmental disabilities. So they either have dementia or Alzheimer's, seizures, Parkinson's, strokes, and you cannot take care of them all day long. Like you just need some kind of break. That's where we come in. So it's kind of like respite care. So you send them there, you do your activities during the day, or you have your job, and then they come home with you at the evening time. So I loved adult daycare. That was like my first experience. I've always had like an older soul. But that was my like first experience with like the older population, and I loved adult daycare. So, I stayed with adult daycare for like a year or so, I think a year and a half, until they closed down. So I guess they weren't making enough money and they were pushing out more money than they were making. So they shut down. So from there, the woman that I worked with, that was an RN, I was a CNA, so I was under her. The woman that I worked with, that was an RN, her parents were getting elderly, so she asked if I wanted to come help them out. So I helped them out for, I think about 2.5 years. And they both passed away at the time. Well, after that, but I was in nursing school at the time too. So once they passed away, I stopped working there, and then I got my first like real nursing job. So I was a telephonic nurse case manager. I worked at an assisted living at the same time, and I worked at a weight loss clinic as an RN all at the same time. I had 3 jobs at the same time because none of them were full-time jobs. So once you become an RN, unless you are like really going into the hospital and have a job already lined up, it's very hard to find a RN job right out of nursing school. So I had 3 part-time jobs at the time. So the assisted living that I worked at, where we had 2 houses, one was a locked facility that we had the dementia patients in, and then one was the facility that had just regular older people that were in an assisted living that just needed help with their medications, their bedtime routines, breakfast, lunch, dinner, things like that. So I worked in an assisted living. Then I kind of switched gears because the telephonic nurse case management position paid me more. So I went to telephonic nurse case management, which again, I dealt with the older population because we were talking on the phone to them about their medications, seeing the doctors, the tests that they were getting at the doctor's offices, dealing with their insurance, and just educating them. So from there, we got laid off because of Obamacare took effect and we lost all the contracts. So I started working at a nursing home. I worked with again, geriatric population, but they were mostly like rehab patients. So they came from the hospital, transitioned to the rehab part of the facility, and they were only supposed to stay there for a certain amount of time, but it kind of depends on each case. And then we had some rollover patients or overflow patients that were supposed to be on the other units, but there was no beds on those units, so we would have them in the rehab unit. So very fast paced. And I dealt with only the older adult population. So I am well aware of everything that goes on with the adult population. So from there, I only stayed there for a year. I worked at a workers' comp job. I loved it. It was telephonic case management. I did workers' comp for 4 years, got laid off from that. So you don't really hear about this that often, but there's more nurses that get laid off than you think because the company restructures. They lose business and you lose your jobs, so things like that. So it's not like, they say nurses can go anywhere and you can always get a job in nursing. Well, not necessarily. You have to have certain qualifications. You have to learn about the employer that you're going to, because sometimes, they don't really tell you, but they are already in the process of laying off people or firing people, and then they hire you on a temporary basis, and then you get laid off as well. So a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that nobody really talks about or nobody really knows. So I did workers' comp for 4 years, and then I got laid off. I was laid off for 6 months, and then I got rehired at a private care. It was a very small office, so it's private in-home non-medical services, meaning that we went in the houses of people that need caretakers in there, but we're not doing medical things. We're not doing trachs, ventilators, peg tubes, wound care. We're not doing any of those. It's mostly healthy adults with some type of disability, like they have dementia, or we had a guy with dystonia. We've had people in wheelchairs that have had strokes, but we're not doing wound care and checking your blood sugar and things like that. We're just doing the basics. So they have to have an RN on staff, but the CNAs go in there and they fix breakfast, lunch, dinner, go shopping for them, have medication reminders. So we're not administering medications because they should already know and be doing that themselves, but we're doing the medication reminders, things like that. So that's my background and where I came from. I'm starting this YouTube channel because there's a real need for information for dementia patients. There's lots of Google searches that you can search with the Alzheimer's Association or Society. There's dementia classes, things like that, but there's not much information on the everyday in and out things. So that's what I want to accomplish here today, is talking about the everyday in and out dementia things, tips and tricks that I have seen throughout the years. I mean, I've been in the nursing world since I was 17 and now I'm 32. So what's that? 11, 12, 13 years, 14 years. So I've seen a lot, and I've dealt with only the geriatric population. So that's my specialty. I love old people. And they are such sweethearts, even sometimes that, you get the people that are mean, and that's what people focus on, the mean people. But it's just that they don't have a outlet to understand what's happening with their brain. Their brain is changing, number one. And number two, they went from independent living their whole entire lives, and now they're dependent for someone to change them, to bathe them, to administer their medications, to do everything for them when they were completely independent. And not only that, but their brain is changing and they can't remember things. They can't remember who they are. They can't remember what they did. They can't remember you. They can't remember their spouse. They can't remember their grandchildren. They can't remember their dogs and cats. And, so there's so many subtle changes that over time sometimes make the older population seem very angry, agitated, mean to other outside sources. But it's not you in particular, it's just what happens with their brain. So there's a lot of things that need to be uncovered and need to be thought out, and just to give you my experience on what I've done and how, you know, these videos can and help you in some way. I hope that they can deal with your loved one and make sure that you understand like the brain changes, or you understand how to talk to them if they're getting mean or they're agitated or they don't remember this and you're getting frustrated, and there's lots of things to deal with, the insurance, the bills, things, you know, all of these things that nobody really talks about or understands until you're in that certain situation. So I hope that my channel can be of some resource to you, and let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns in the comments below. Just drop a note for me. If there's any questions that you have, let me know, and then I can do a video on that and answer those questions specifically if I don't know the answers to those questions, because again, I'm still learning. So I have dealt with the adult population for a long time, but there's still some things that I don't know, that everyday situations that occur that sometimes, you know, we don't have the answer to right away. So if there's something that I can't answer, I will definitely find the answer for you. I have lots of resources that are geared towards nurses and doctors, not specifically like the public knowledge, but there's lots of resources that I have access to that nurses and doctors deal with all the time. So if you have a question, leave it in the comments below. I will definitely get back to you. Make sure you like and subscribe to my page, like this video, comment for me, and then subscribe to my page so that you get all the updates on everything that I'm going to be talking about. All right, I'll see you later. Enjoy my channel.